Hello everybody and welcome to the third and final video of this mini-series, Players to Watch in the LEC's 2020 Spring Split. In this episode we are going to talk about the Rogue lineup and the development they have to show us to be considered a top tier team in the LEC. Firstly, we will take a look at the single roster swap that this lineup has gone through, Hansama for Woolite/Hikyu in the AD carry position. We will not get too deep into this roster swap because in my opinion it's a straight upgrade on all accounts. By what we've seen in the EU LCS and LEC, I have no idea how the hell Hikyu is still getting pro play opportunities. This guy is so bad compared to the competition, and he didn't even shine when he played the national leagues. Woolite is not as bad as Hikyu, but he wasn't good either last year. He had some good games, but that was mostly thanks to Vander and Inspired outplaying the enemy jungler support duo and playing towards the bot side all the time. This guy has an int tendency in lane and out of it, which makes me think this role is not for him. He might be able to compete in the LEC someday in the future, but this guy was in EU LCS in 2014. I'm not sure he has much going to do, and I'm not sure he has what it takes. On the other hand, Hansama is a good LEC level AD carry. Last year he didn't look so good, but that could be said for the entire Misfits starting lineup, not the academy players that actually did okay. He likes to play with a lane focused support and get attention from his jungler, but he could do okay without it. I wouldn't say he's a top 5 AD carry right now in the league, because this position is stacked, though I wouldn't be surprised if he proved me wrong. He definitely isn't being completely outclassed by the other AD carries in the league, as opposed to Woolite and Hikyu. And all in all, this is a very positive roster change for Rogue. Now, let's talk about this team and its playstyle. From what we've seen in the last Split's playoffs, this team only plays for bot side. They left Finn on an island in each and every one of those games, while the bot lane was played for even when they've drafted Garen and Yumi. They used their lead in the bot lane to move them around and get objectives around the map, but they didn't make any plays without the bot lane. On the one hand, it's a fun playstyle to have, and it works well versus teams that usually play passively in the early game, and especially when Larsen was able to get mid prio in almost every game. To be fair to Humanoid and Abedage, he did play Corki into melee almost every game. On the other hand, this playstyle eventually becomes very predictable. Schalke recognized those tendencies and just matched Rogue's bot lane and jungle pressure. Rogue was able to win one game and almost win another one, but that's mainly because Tricky got outpathed in almost every early game by Inspired. Furthermore, Larsen wouldn't be able to get mid prio all the time. He will need the help of Inspired eventually, and this guy avoids mid as if it's Season 10 Herald. Teams that know how to play around their mid lane, like G2, Fnatic and Misfits, would never lose to this playstyle because they will always have the main advantage through mid prio. They also have a hard time dealing with good split push teams, but there's only one of those in the league right now. Lastly, Hansama likes to be played towards, and as we discussed earlier, is a better player than Woolite. This should be a straight upgrade even considering the team's synergies. Rogue's mid game was very good last season. They have smart lane assignments and they understand the limitation and item spikes timings on their champions very well. When they decide to engage a fight in the mid game, from ahead and even from behind, they will win it almost every time. Their objective setups, Drake, Herald, Tower or Baron, are usually very clean and successful. Even if they don't get the objective, they usually are able to gather a few kills for themselves. Furthermore, they know when they can't fight for an objective and use this time to trade objectives very efficiently. With that said, they have a really weird tendency when playing from behind to randomly face check bushes with absolutely no reason. It's really weird to see this from such a smart team, but it is what it is. In addition, some of the players are making small mistakes that might be problematic in the future. Finn tends to die with no reason while being alone on a side lane. He doesn't seem to fully understand the potential of the enemy team collapsing onto him, even in some really stupid moments. Inspired tends to get really confused in the early game when he gets outpathed. He is going for super risky plays that have almost no chance of working. Better early game wording for the team in general should easily solve this problem, but if Inspired could get a bit more composed, it can also be prevented. Woolite is not good. Luckily, this problem was already solved. As a fan of Great League of Legends, this is what I want to see this team do in the next split. Depends on the enemy team, sometimes mix things up and play for top lane. Finn is a great carry player and they can definitely win games through him. I want to see inspired gank mid, or at least getting vision and pressure around it. It's so weird that every time the enemy jungler gets mid, Rogue's game plan suddenly shatters for a few seconds. As we talked about, even though this team is very smart, they usually lose composure when behind, random face checks and jungle paths. They need to learn to take a breath and give up a bit more control when behind, because they know how to set up a fight and make a comeback. It will happen without the random ints. Lastly, and most importantly, keep doing what they did last year. Their mid games are great, they know how to play around bot lane very well, their drafts are good, and they know how to play around their champions and item spikes. Before we finish up here, it's important to note that this team was good for only half of a season. It will be vital to see how can they adapt to a completely different meta. We didn't see this team adapt beyond small patches in the middle of the season, and it will be interesting to see how they will do in a different season. Thank you everyone so much for watching. This was the last episode of this mini-series. You can check out the other videos in my channel and in the description below. Personally, I'm super excited for LEC and I'm planning to make a lot more content when the season starts.